Roxy.
Oh, and good late afternoon, Tam. How's it going over there in Australia?
I woke up in the middle of the night feeling like I was so nauseous. And then I always think two things. It's like, I'm pregnant or it's COVID. There's no like in between. There's no like, oh, I might have eaten something. Oh, I just might be tired. It's like COVID or pregnancy. Like there's nothing else that it could possibly be.
Now, so do you have like a little bit of the hypochondria? Because I feel like I've got it and it's gotten worse with COVID. Like,
well, I mean, I never really had, I'm not really a germaphobe. I'm not like you, Roxy. Like, I know that you were like hand sanitizing my entire body before. I remember I had a cough once and like you like sprayed me as I walked in the door with like Lysol. Like, get that crap away from me. I don't think I'm a germaphobe at all, but I am every single thing. Like if I swallow and I'm like, oh, that's COVID, or like my groin hurt the other day and I'm like, oh, that's COVID. Like a random, like I have a bruised foot. I'm like, definitely COVID. So just like weird symptoms that I think is all linked back to that.
But you know what? I think, okay, so I definitely have hypochondria. Like I kind of
we know
the worst. You might know. I go to the worst place first, and then I try to like whittle it down. Like I'll start at like I'll go down the WebMD page and then like pick out the worst thing.
WebMD, you're a doctor's daughter. What are you doing?
This is the problem. I'm like, oh my God, the paranoia of like living like in a medical family, I think is finally caught up to me. Because I'm like, go to the worst place first and then whittle it down to like, something a little bit less scary. But I shouldn't. I should like start from from a happier
My mom's
place.
scared of like a lot of medical stuff. Was when she was younger, she like had a few medical issues like with her eyes and stuff like that. So because like you know when you're young, you kind of like take on what your parents give you. So like she'll look funny at the side, she'll look into the light for a second and she'll be like, I'm going blind. And she's like, my eyes are shutting down. I'm having a rupture of the eyeball. And now I'm like, every time I look at something, I'm like, I'm going blind. I'm dying. So like, I think you come by it honestly from your families for sure.
I know. I feel like your mom and I need to have a wine chat and just talk about all of the.
Yeah, I don't want to be anywhere near you. I'm going to be like, by the time you come out, you're like, I'm dying of cancer and like something else.
I know. It's so dark. It's so dark.
Well, our next guest does not seem like she's a hypochondriac, but we'll find out on this podcast. She seems all things fitness and health. So I think that's something that I need to inject a little bit more into my life, especially during this pandemic.
Yes. She is quite the fitness superstar. If you have not gotten your butt kicked in one of her classes, Body by Simone, have you even ever really lived? You know,
yeah, have you really even exercised?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you have to do her workouts because they are amazing. They're killer. They're just like, there's such good energy. There's so much like fun dance, but you feel like you're getting a serious workout, which you are, of course.
Yeah. And there's like a strategy behind it too. Cause I think, and then we'll talk about this during the show, like, cause I lift heavy weights and that really hurts my body a lot. So, you know, there's definitely a structure that is threaded through her exercise classes and she's a celebrity trainer too. So I'm like, ooh, let's get the celebrity guy. We'll probably find out nothing. Like she'll tell us nothing, but at least we can ask.
She's probably like so tight-lipped, but it's really cool too because she was actually a Broadway star and like transitioned her career into becoming like this fitness celebrity fitness like mogul. So
so who do we have? Roxy Soxy.
We have Simone De La Rue.
Woo! Who's also an Aussie, by the way. Yes. So that was like amazing. Welcome.
Yes. Thank you for that fabulous introduction.
Okay.
So tell us a little, you just told us that you just saw your mother after a few years. How has COVID been? Like, are you in London right now? You're in?
No, I'm actually in Palm Springs. So I live between LA and Palm Springs. In California, and where the sun shines all the time, which is just lovely. But my mum, I grew up in Melbourne, Australia, but my mum lives on a little island called King Island, which is in between Melbourne and Tasmania. It's very remote. They're well known for their cheese and their beef. But I didn't grow up there, thank goodness, because I think there's like a butcher, a baker, and a candlestick maker. Like that's all that they have on there. But we haven't seen each other in 2 years, 2 months, and I think 8 days. And she hasn't seen, our son in that time. So the last time she saw him, he was 8 months old. And now he's running around. We picked her up from the airport yesterday, and he's like, no. Ran into her arms, and it was just like, oh, so precious. So very, very special moment indeed.
I think a lot of us have lost so much time, with our loved ones during this COVID period. And the lockdown. And then, of course, like just dealing with the ever, lasting pandemic has been hard on a lot of us. So I know we've all had to kind of, do our thing and try to make the best of it. But you certainly have been making some good strides in the pandemic, Simone, because I've been looking at your Instagram and
she's looking, but she's not doing the workout. She's like, oh, I should do this workout, but instead I'll just watch him.
I'm like, looks painful, but amazing.
Looks good. I'll sit here drinking my wine.
Yeah. So for you during this pandemic, I mean, you've been posting a lot, which is so helpful for people, but how did you keep your fitness, up and going during this time? Or did you ever feel like unmotivated? How did that kind of pan out for you?
Yeah, if I'm going to be truly honest with you, the pandemic has been, as a business owner, the most crushing thing ever, and at the start of 2020, I had 4 studios, 1 in London, 2 in LA, and 1 in New York. And I now have 2 left because I just couldn't keep them open because landlords still expect to be paid regardless. So it's been horrible. It really has. And, I've owned the business for 10 years. I've never had to face such challenging times. And, it really tested my mental health and my mental strength. I was depressed. I was anxious. I felt out of control. So the one thing that I kept turning to, and the one thing that I preach about all the time, is that, to use exercise as a tool. And, addiction rates are up, more people are drinking, there's more suicides, there's more drug addiction, more obesity, and obviously people are very ill because of COVID. And so now more than ever, we really need to take care of our physical health and our mental health. So for me, posting so much was really a way to try and reach through and connect with everyone, because my studios were closed for 19 months and I was unable to have that inhuman experience and connection again. And also I needed it. Like, I needed to try and do something every day to try and stay motivated, because I was doing it tough. It's been really, really hard.
I mean, honestly, for me, and I talk about it a lot on my Instagram, is that I used to exercise from what I looked like. I was like, oh, I love, feeling like I look cute or whatever in my own body with what I wanted to look like and put out into the world. But now I exercise, I would say 95% for mental health. And exercise for me, I've always struggled. I've never struggled with depression, but I've always struggled with anxiety. I have high functioning anxiety. And I honestly think that my anxiety gets reduced by about 70% every time I exercise. And I think, it's great to look the way you want to look in your physical form. But I think right now, like you said, like mental health, people's mental health are really struggling, and exercise is a great thing to actually reduce that level of fear, depression, anxiety, is through moving your body.
Like my motto now is like, let's not exercise for how we look, exactly what you said, but let's exercise for how it makes us feel. And it's like the feeling behind it. And it's so crazy because, I live in Los Angeles, I train a million celebrities, and everybody's obsessed with how they look and, how to get red carpet ready arms and all of this nonsense.
Please tell me. Like, it's so nonsense, but what's the secret?
Such nonsense. I mean, you know what it's like, whatever clickbait title sells, but I really hope that there is now more of a movement. And I think it needs to come from us women, to be like, we're working out because it makes us feel good. It makes us better mother. It makes us, function better at work. It energizes us, as opposed to how do I look in a bikini?
Yeah. I mean, I think that is the key, is to focus on, trying to get healthy, trying to feel healthy, but also doing it for yourself, you know, as opposed to somebody else, because I know a lot of times like the motivation, you know, gets lost. And especially as we're going into the new year, you know, I know people set kind of, you know, resolutions and goals, but at this time, people are kind of starting to fall off a little bit, right? Because it's like nearing the end of January, they've done it for like, you know, a few weeks. So how do people stay motivated through that kind of initial, you know, the first few weeks of the year and really kind of carry out like what they want to do?
Yeah, consistency is key.
Yeah.
You know, you have to be consistent with your food intake. You have to be consistent with your exercise. You have to be consistent with your meditation, your journaling, consistent with your sleep, you know, and so many people want the quick fix. So many people want, you know, how do I lose 5 pounds in 5 days? You know, people start their New Year's resolutions. They make the list. I'm going to lose 30 pounds, you know, and they make these unattainable goals. And so, of course, they go hard for the first week, and usually they end up injured, or they you know, end up binge eating because they haven't allowed themselves to have that chocolate Tim Tam biscuit, and then you know, and then they end up falling off the wagon. So it really is really just trying to be consistent. And so I, you know, when I have a client who comes to me for the first time, I say, all I want you to do today is just stay in the room. You know, that let's just stay in the room and we'll do what we can. And I also preach, like, let's just do 10 minutes. Let's just dedicate that I'm going to do 10 minutes a day. And then, you know, sure enough, once you get into that 10 minutes and you start moving, you're most likely to do more because the good endorphins have kicked in. You're already in the routine, you're doing it, you feel good. But I think when people get in their heads, oh, I have to do an hour class, oh, I can't be bothered. Like, you know, that just seems too overwhelming. And especially if you're tired because you've been doing, you know, hour classes prior to that, you really will lose your motivation. So aside from consistency, I think it's also important to set realistic goals and, you know, just baby steps. Things don't change overnight. It should be a healthy lifestyle.
So as I get older, I feel like my metabolism is definitely slowing down. I'm doing the same things as I was when I was in my 20s and my early 30s, but I'm finding it harder to stay in shape. I have to be careful because, you know, I've had eating disorders in the past, so I have to be careful about like what shape means to me, but just getting those fitness goals that is just personal, I feel like is harder as I'm getting older. So what happens to your physical body as you get older, and what can you do to help raise your metabolism?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm 47. I've been exercising since I was 3. And, you know, I now start to notice, especially after having a baby, that things that I used to do, my body's changed. You know, it doesn't look, things sag a little, you know, like it just looks different. And that's okay. But there are things that come into play, and that is we really have to consider our hormones. So any hormonal imbalance, like premenopausal or menopausal, as we age, our muscle mass diminishes. So we have to work hard at building and keeping muscle mass. So that's where the strength training comes in. So when you were talking earlier about, you know, that you love to do strength training, that's brilliant. That's great. That's what you should be doing. You should be building muscle mass and keeping it. You know, we as women come from the idea that I need to lose weight. If I lose weight, I'm going to do an hour of cardio. I'm just going to go crazy on the elliptical and, you know, I'm going to burn this. But actually, it is proven that as we get older, women need to reduce the cardio and increase the strength training, you know, but all of this, like there's so many, everyone's personal body is different, you know, depending on hormones, depending on, you know, eating history, depending on someone's relationship with food, depending on, you know, some people build and grow muscle mass easier than others. It's really a personal thing, but in general, as a goal, women as we get older should be focusing on strength training, and we should be you know, not we should be eating and grazing all the time, you know. This when we were in our 20s.
See, Roxy,
like if I don't eat for a day, I'll be thin, you know, like that used to work when we were in our 20s. Absolutely, you know, but that's like that's very unhealthy, mindset. And also it actually stops your metabolism, and we need to keep firing our metabolism. And to do that, you have to eat food. You have to fuel your body. And if you're wanting to work out, it's like a car. Your car doesn't work unless you put gas in it. So you have to fuel your body to get the optimum, to work at 100% intensity in your workout.
So there's so much talk right now, especially I'd say in the last year or two, about intermittent fasting. People, it's all over the place. People are doing it in different time increments based on the hours. What are your thoughts on intermittent fasting? Does it work? Is it good for women as they age? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fad, that's come in and out, especially in Hollywood. I worked on a TV show called Revenge Body that was a weight loss show, and we had contestants come on, and they wanted to lose between 30 and 60 pounds in a 12-week time slot. And we were recommending intermittent fasting for these people, but they were severely overweight. And so for that purpose, it worked, but they were structured to make sure that they would intermittent fast, and then they would work out at like 7 a.m. and then they would eat directly after that. Intermittent fasting works if you do it correctly. Most people do it incorrectly. They're like, oh, just keep going to 10 a.m., 11 a.m., or I'll work out, but I won't eat afterwards, or they'll mess with the time. And also, I say it works if you do it for a purpose, short stint, not every single day, like wake up every single day and that's how I'm going to live my life. I disagree with that. So if you were to do it, maybe once or twice a year, but not as your lifestyle choice.
Because I love the idea of intermittent fasting, and when I tried it, it absolutely worked. But then, I'm really big on hormones, and like I cycle sync during the month. So I eat according to my cycle and I exercise according to my cycle. We've had a lot of people on here who are hormone experts. And the consensus is that intermittent fasting for women can screw up your hormones if done long term. And that a lot of these intermittent fasting tests, like when they test a lot of these, like when we get health advice, a lot of these tests are done on men. So like, intermittent fasting, like for my husband, he looks great within 2 weeks. And then after 2 weeks, I feel like crap because like I'm shaky and like my period's all over the place. So do you think that can affect women's hormones when they're not eating for a certain period of time?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So as I said, I would only advise to do it for like a purpose, like if people need to drop a large amount of weight. But, for people like us, everyday living, no, I wouldn't recommend it.
So I've heard this too, and I'm so glad you're on because I want you to clear up all of these,
all these myths.
I know. So, but I'm not sure about the veracity of this. So I've heard that abs are made in the kitchen, and that in order to kind of really try to lose some weight, that it's 80% what you eat, 20% working out. What are your thoughts on that?
I absolutely. It is. Yeah. It's like I always say to clients, there's no point, killing yourself in the gym for 1 to 2 hours and then going in and eating a pizza. Like, we are what we eat. It is so important to make sure that you're, the way I try and train my clients is to eat to fuel your body, and listen to what it needs and listen to what it wants, because it wants different things throughout the month, especially as a woman. But yeah, there's no point killing yourself in the gym if you're going to have a bad diet or poor diet. So, but they both go hand in hand. You need both of them.
Okay.
There's such a big movement right now on body love, body acceptance, body positivity. So everything's changing. I think, it's definitely changing from when I was a teenager, and I look at my young girls and I'm actually really glad that it's moving in that direction. Is there ever an unhealthy part of that? Like when we are saying, this is okay, but then that person might not be healthy when they go to the doctor. Like what's the fine line between, but like, obviously we all want to love and accept our bodies, but how do you know what is healthy and what isn't healthy?
Yeah, I mean, I think when I'm talking about someone overweight, I'm not talking about like, say, 5 to 10 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking like 30, 40, 50, 60 pounds overweight, where someone can't walk up the stairs. You know, like we're talking about the amount of weight that they're carrying is putting pressure on their heart. You know, someone that, you know, gets out of breath even just walking around the block. So, you know, if a person is carrying weight where it means that they are unable to do simple tasks like walking, then that's what I consider overweight. But, you know, if someone is 5 or 10 pounds carrying extra weight because they've just had a baby, or maybe, you know, like they're going through menopause, or you know, I think people know when they're overweight. You know, I would hope to think that they would know if they're overweight. It's affecting their health, and that's why they are going to a doctor to say, look, this is what we prescribe you.
So have you ever had to deal with clients that maybe had, you know, body dysmorphia, or they saw themselves, you know, in a different way than how everybody else sees them? And if you have had to deal with those, how do you sort of, you know, how do you deal with those types of clients that have that kind of condition?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, I grew up in classical ballet, so I was around, and the emphasis is on being thin. And I witnessed so many of my friends go through with eating disorders, and they ended up getting injured and losing their dance careers early because they were unable to just physically keep up with the demand. So I've always had a great relationship with food, and but I am the first one to see and notice when I see that someone doesn't. And so we get, you know, a lot of women of all shapes and sizes come into my physical studios. And there have been certain times when I have actually had to pull aside some clients and speak to them because they have been so underweight. And, you know, we know the signs, we know what that looks like. And so, you know, you have to obviously very, very carefully handle this situation with empathy and, you know, and then I would always recommend a therapist of some sort, you know, to them to speak to, because I'm not qualified to do that. But I always make sure that I'm taking care of all of my trainers if I ever see that happen in one of my trainers. And also, you know, any of our clients, because I think we tread on eggshells around this. You know, everyone's too afraid to say something like, oh, I'm going to offend the person, you know, but it's like that person could really, really damage their heart health, their ability to have children. Like, there's so many different things. Then we need to take responsibility as a health and fitness expert to pull somebody aside and say, hey, let's talk. Are you okay?
Not many trainers get to the level that you have. So what's the secret? Like what happened in the beginning where one person who was on film and TV was like, oh my goodness, you need to go see her? Like, what was the secret sauce, and what was different about what you were doing compared to all the other people who are out there training celebrities or just have a business that didn't really grow?
I think part of it was luck. I think part of it
everyone says that. I'm like, I want to be lucky.
Like being in the right place at the right time.
Luck.
I know.
Yes.
I think also part of it was being Australian, you know, like coming to America with an accent. And a lot of the people that I trained, you know, I didn't necessarily know their backstory or history or, you know, even though they were massive celebrities, but there was no like connection. So I think part of it was being Australian, part of it was luck. And I always say this, like, if you have a good product, if you are a nice person, if you treat people with respect, if you honor them in the room and you do a good job and they see results, you know, it comes down to the product. If you do a good job and they love it, then they will tell somebody else. So I really built my business off word of mouth. And then the luck that played into it was that I happened to get a very, very large celebrity and work with her, and she got paparazzi, you know, with one of my just coming out of my studio, and there's a whole lot of cameramen there, and she grabbed one of my t-shirts that said Body by Simone on it. She put it on and she walked out, and that was it. Like the phone just rang off the hook, and just it's like overnight things changed for me. So I've always had so much gratitude for her and for that moment, because I was so innocent when I look back at it. I really had no idea, and then I was like, oh wow, this is really changed my business and my trajectory.
Yes, to Tammin, her name rhymes with Mandra Mullick. Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one, right?
Oh, she seems like a sweetheart too.
Yeah.
She's always been in shape because of you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what is it like training, these celebrity clients compared to, like an everyday woman? Is it more intense? Is it more, do you feel like you have to work harder because, it's such a they're such public people, and that's your work, right? They're walking around, with your work. So does that put added pressure on you, or how is that?
I mean, what's the celebrities? They're just like us,
right.
They're just a person at the end of the day. They're no different from anybody else. They sweat the same, they're challenged by the exercise in just the same way. The only difference is they get paid to work out. They get paid to look like that. Their production companies, their movies pay for their training. So, they feel I have a lot more pressure on them to look a certain way because of the work that they're doing.
Yes. I didn't realize that the production companies were paying for their fitness.
Oh, yep.
Okay.
So all of the big movies that you see, like Warner Brothers or Fox or whoever, they're all paying for for everything that they need.
Yeah, might as well.
So when did you decide that your job, like being just singly doing your job, could become a business? And how there's a lot of people who want to use what they love to do and create a business. Now, creating a business, obviously we've done it, is not easy. What are some of the tips you can give for someone who wants to create a business based on what they can give?
Yeah, you have to have passion. You have to have love for what you do. It has to be something that that you love to do. It's because it's such hard work. And so, if you think it's going to be easy, then you're kidding yourself and you're in for a rude awakening. So, I always say that passion. You have to be willing to get in there and do everything. You have to be willing to be the accountant, be the front desk, be the manager, be the cleaner, don't be afraid to get your hands dirty and get in there and do it. And I think a lot of people sometimes think, starting a business or running a business is easy. But I do believe that's one thing that I love so much about America is their thought process about you can do anything you want.
Yeah,
they're very positive people, and they're like, I don't think I could have opened this in Australia or in the UK. I don't think I would have had the support that I have. Where in America it's like, go girl, you can do this. Of course you can do this.
You can be anything you want. You can change your life around from nothing.
You want. Yeah. And when I laugh about it, I grew up in a tiny little town in Melbourne, Aspendale, near the beach, and I didn't have a business degree. I went to deferred from the Victorian College of the Arts to do my first musical Cats when I was 18. So here I was, and I've, started this business, and I had no clue what I was doing. I didn't have a business model, a business plan. I just woke up every day and did what I loved, and I was really passionate about it. And, so I say to people, be driven by your intuition. You can start a business and run a business from intuition and passion and heart. It doesn't have to always come from head, which is nice for women, because I think that's how we run our lives.
Absolutely. And as entrepreneurs, I know we all know this blood, sweat, and tears that it takes to make these businesses happen. And were there ever times that you wanted to quit, or you wanted to throw in the towel?
Right now?
Every day. Want to quit right now.
Yeah. Honestly, just in the past 2 years, because it's been so hard, because it's been out of my control. It's like, the product is great, everyone loves it, but a pandemic has forced everything to close, to be shut. So that's been really hard to want to keep fighting, and keep saying, no, I'm going to just keep pushing for this and pushing for this, because it would have been easy to go, all right, I give up.
But you
had to pivot
through.
and you had to pivot online, right? Did that become your now sole first? Because I think that people who are very successful are really good at pivoting when when the going gets tough. They're like, okay, just like I had the foresight to start this business, how do we now pivot so that we're actually still able to be successful? And I would think that online classes kind of jumped up for you in the part of the pandemic.
Yeah, I think that's one thing. You have to be flexible. You have to evolve and pivot. I think that was the word of 2021, pivot. But I actually had my app. I launched my app in 2018. So I was kind of ahead of the game before the pandemic hit. So I was very lucky that I already had that resource available. However, what happened was every other single physical space that had to close all started their own online and doing Zoom classes, or with Instagram now, everyone was Instagramming live free classes. So if you have the option to do a free class, why would you pay for a subscription service? So there were some of the battles that we faced, because then all of a sudden that market, which we kind of had cornered a little bit, became so oversaturated, and now everybody's doing online fitness. So let's always stick with your niche, stick with your target audience, and really just keep pushing through, because my business is mainly like 99% women. And so that was the niche that we were focused on, and continue to do. However, if men want to join, they're more than welcome. Anyone, any gender.
Them doing the little dance moves and jumping around.
Yes. Good luck, men, because it is hard and it's so good. I mean, I feel like you go in there in one of your classes, and you come out and you feel like uplifted, you feel stronger, because you're having a great time while you're doing it. I think that's part of your secret sauce, is like, you feel good. You feel like you're getting uplifted, Well,
that's what I hope, because it goes back to the selling the feeling, it goes back to the feeling.
Yeah.
Isn't one of your studios, I just remembered this, it's on Sunset, right?
So I think the one you're talking about was on Santa Monica Boulevard.
Santa Monica Boulevard. That's right. I just started going, right. And I couldn't do all the dance moves. So I was like, and 2 and 3 and 4 and jump. And I was like, oh my God. You have to be coordinated. I'm sorry.
You do a little bit. Yeah, that helps.
But the teachers are really supported too. Like, they're
lovely. They're like, oh, she's still on her face, but she's doing a great job.
Just keep moving. Just keep moving.
Exactly. So what is the next iteration for your business? Will you be keeping the physical studios going and then just incorporating more online, or what does the future look like for you?
Yeah, I'm desperately hanging on and trying to keep the 2 existing studios that I have. It's winter here in the States. So the New York one, it's snowing and everyone's got COVID, and LA, everybody's got COVID, like half of my staff have got COVID. So it's just, when you think, oh yeah, we've got it back. And then it's like, we're back here again. It's like deja vu, but we're going to fight. We're going to keep pushing through, and I want to keep those spaces. We will continue with my online, with the digital studios, the platform, and continue to just bring out programs. So I released the 8-week program that was based on my book. And then in a couple of weeks, I'm launching a postnatal program. So that's for all the yummy mummies out there. And just keep churning out content and get it out there, and hope to touch people somehow.
Can I ask a question? Because I've had 2 babies. The first one I found a little easier to get back in shape. I don't think my stomach will ever go back, just because, she was 10 pounds and just stretched me out. But my second baby, I just can't seem to get into the shape I was in before. I don't know if you've heard this, but they say that each baby gets progressively worse to the body. Is it because your hormones change, or is it just you're not sleeping as much? Like, what's the deal? Like, why? I'm eating exactly the same as I always have. I'm exercising exactly the same as I always have, but I'm finding it hard to get to that sort of look that I was before I had the second baby.
Yeah, I think your body can only, sometimes take so much when you think about the skin has been stretched and then it's gone back and it's like, oh, hang on a minute, I'm doing this again. That's right. And so it's definitely one, you've gotten older. I hate to say this, but you've gotten older. Two, a hormonal change that's going on within your body, whether you're breastfed or not. Three, it is more challenging because it's harder to find time for yourself as well, because now you're running after two kids. But it's just a part of, and this is something I was talking to my mum about today, is that, I never thought I was going to get old. I never thought I was old. I always, like, in my head, I still think I'm 28, and I was always the young fitness, with the bra top on and the leggings and walking around, like, look at me. And I'm like, I'm 47 now. Like, I'm closer to 50. Like, my next thing is going to be creating workouts for 50 and over. And that, I'm just like, how did that happen? Like, it's
so
such
fast too.
It goes so fast, so it's part of the process as women. We can work as hard as we can, but it's part of the aging process. Our bodies change, and that's okay.
The guilt too. I think there's also guilt, especially when you're a new mom and you're running after the kids and trying to take care of everything. And if you're working, on top of that, and a lot of moms feel guilty taking the time to even work out for themselves, and that is such a gift that you can give yourself, especially as a new mom. So what would you say to like new moms who are like, kind of trying to put their toe back in the water and, maybe start to work out? What are some steps or tips that you could give to them?
I always say, be kind, show yourself grace. And, it's not a race. It's, the society and magazines, and this is what another thing that irks me is like, look at so and so, she snapped back, or she got her body back after baby. And I'm like, listen, it's the same body I had before I got pregnant. I didn't get my body back. It's it's me. And that I hate all that clickbait stuff that just, for women, it's like, we don't need to be seeing that. We've got to love the body that we're in. Took 9 months to put the weight on. It's going to take that and more to get it off. It's not a race. Sleep deprivation, hormonal change, breastfeeding, if you've had a C-section, all of that comes into play about how, you can get back into working out. And just, yes, it is important to take care of your body and work out, but it's also important to be present and enjoy every moment with your baby, because you've got time to work out again. But those early months, there's literally every day that they change, be present and enjoy that as well. But I think my biggest thing is just be kind and show yourself some grace.
And also shifting that, I think hopefully in the next, generation, it's more about feeling good within your body, feeling strong, feeling mentally healthy, and less about the physical. Because I know for me, I've for 30 years have just thought about the physical, and like how I can look a certain way that the world will accept me. And the more conversations we have about just feeling healthy and feeling strong, and like you said, exercising for mental health, then the physical just kind of is a bonus, and it comes with it, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is I like to look this way. But when we're doing it for the right reason, I think that there's we feel better, and it's just a better shift in the narrative, especially for our young kids. And I want my daughter, like I say to her, that because she now knows what fat is, and I go, fat is a thing. So I'm good or bad, it's just a thing. Everyone has versions of it. So she doesn't equate it to something negative. And I think that if I had thought that growing up, then I wouldn't have been so hard on myself when I was a teenager, So it's just, again, exercising in this pandemic for feeling good and healthy and, less stress. So
well, in that way, that's how it sticks too. That's how something like really sticks. If you want to, be healthy for a long period of time, it's like you have to do it for the right reasons. If you're doing it for external, just to like have a quick fix, it's not going to stick. Like you're not going to, right? You're not going to be consistent. You're going to want to do it for a week and then say, why am I not seeing anything, and throw in the towel,
It's important to make it a lifestyle. And if you want to have a glass of bread, you want to have a piece of chocolate cake, you can have those things. Like the more we limit ourselves and tell ourselves, oh, I must punish myself, I can't do that, I can't eat that, that's going to, it's like torture. Like allow yourself to have those things. Don't have the bottle of wine, maybe have one glass. Don't eat the whole cake, maybe eat just a piece, but make it a healthy lifestyle. And some days you do better than others. It's a strict regime that's just impossible to live by.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for coming on this show. Please let our listeners know where they can find you now that things are kind of a little different in your world. They can buy your books, whatever. Where can they find you?
So Simone De La Rue is my website. That's my Facebook and Instagram, Simone De La Rue Official. All of my workouts, Body by Simone, and the new digital studio platform with the 8-week program and the soon to be postnatal program is studio.bodybysimone.com.
Amazing.
Very nice. Are you going to have some good family time this weekend?
Oh yeah. My mum's actually having an afternoon nap while my son's napping. She's like, I'm just going to help him read the book, and I bet I'm going to go in there and they're going to both be snoring. We're gonna just be together. That's like the greatest gift ever.
The best.
Amazing.
The best.
Well, stay safe, and
thank you.
Hopefully we'll get into one of your classes very soon.
Yes, please. I would love that. I hope to see you soon in person.
Yeah.
Sure.
Share some Aussie American
stories.
You guys
I'm in Melbourne right now, actually.
You guys can talk all about your Tim Tams and all the killer spiders and snakes and everything.
Australia, and it's like, oh my goodness, all these brands I haven't remembered for so long. And we're in Melbourne right now, so it's raining as it always is here.
I know. I'm trying to think. What is it? I guess it's it's summer in Melbourne.
Summer.
And it's raining.
It's always raining.
You need like an umbrella, a jacket, a bikini. Like it's
exactly. I love it. Thank you guys so much for listening to us. We are Women on Top Official on Instagram
and Women on Top Podcast on Facebook, and we have a group too on Clubhouse, Women on Top. And don't forget to rate, subscribe, and
comment.
Yes,
thank you guys so much.
Podcasts.
I am Tammin Sursock.
And I am Roxy Manning.
And we are
Women
on. Take it away, Simone. Top.